He raised his brows, and Valor comically raised hers too. Yeah, she was ready. She was always ready. Bred for strength and tenacity, she was a proud descendant of a Czech line of war dogs. She liked nothing better than to hunt for a missing person, and she didn't mind at all the tactical side of things, fast roping down cliffs and what have you. Valor and Tripwire had been up here in West Virginia for the last week, training with international search teams called up and deployed in natural disasters worldwide. They'd been working the search dogs on and off helicopters, fast roping into ravines, getting them ready to deploy in hard-to-reach areas should a disaster strike. Today, they'd be jumping out of planes. You ready to show them how it's done? Valor stood still while Trip adjusted the straps of her mirrored dog goggles into place. Looking mighty badass, Miss Valerie. He reached down and scooped up the new CAPS, K9 Auditory Protection System, developed by the Army to protect military working dogs' sensitive ears. It fit like a hoodie over her head to form a seal against the noise. It was Valor's least favorite piece of equipment, so Trip stopped to reward her with a kiss and a full-body hug once he'd adjusted it into place. He knew she was ready for the next step when her tongue reached out and gave him a swipe. Trip held out her muzzle. Valor would never bite him, not in 1,000 years. But the training organizer required muzzles on transports with other dogs. Sometimes, in cramped quarters, dogs could spook. On the plane, they'd be packed in tight with all those sharp teeth and crazy strong jaw muscles. No good reason to take chances. Ready, girl? She stuck her nose into her muzzle, and Trip tightened the straps into place. As the other handlers prepped their dogs, the canines whined and paced, their heads down and slobbery or yawning widely, shaking their coats, trying to relieve stress. The canines were picking up on their handlers' anxiety. Most of the rescue workers were jumping out of a plane for the first time. Stressful enough without a dog. But the first-timers would be in good hands when they jumped, strapped tandem to a professional skydiving trainer. Let's go, little mama. Trip gathered up Valor's lead, and they walked, side by side, out of the hangar to the jump plane. When the other dogs in the group saw little mama's confidence, they calmed a bit and seemed to follow alongside their handlers without shying away from the plane's high-pitched engine noise. Their plane had 10 rescuers with their canines on this jump run. 6 trainers joined them to assist the newbies. Each aircraft was a mix of nationalities. The exercise leaders were trying to develop connections and trust between the teams. On assignment, the Iniquus Search and Rescue Team was typically employed by a private corporation or government institution to go into a disaster zone to find and extract their people, get them to safety, or at least help them survive until next steps could be taken. The last disaster Trip worked had the Iniquus team tasked with pulling a group of university students out of the rubble heap when their dormitory collapsed in a South American earthquake. All the missing students in that building were accounted for, injured but alive. Little Mama had made 3 of those finds. Lives saved, job accomplished. If their search and rescue team wasn't hired to find specific faces in dust-covered crowds of survivors, then Iniquus often sent the teams in as part of their charitable outreach. On those occasions, Trip went where he was directed. A K9 team, a handler and a dog, was usually divvied up 1 dog to each search grid. Iniquus's canines almost never worked side by side on searches. That was why training events like the one they'd been participating in this week were a good idea. Trip signaled for Valor to jump onto the plane. He followed her in and found space on the bench next to the 2 other Iniquus handlers on this same jump run. Cerberus team leader Ridge was with his canine Zeus. An old-timer, Bob, who handled mission tactical support, had his canine Evo with him. The rest of the Iniquus team were loading onto the next 2 planes on the runway. After settling Valor under the bench,